In just the like 2 weeks between my last video and this video, I've come full circle because last time I forgot to do my outro until the very end, and here's me forgetting to do my intro until the very end of the filming process. Yay. This year is shaping up to be the year of the Owl House for me, because it's looking like I'm going to be meeting Dana Terrace at ZenkaiCon, and in the week that I was preparing this video, the voice of Luz was announced for TinyCon, so I'm gonna be wearing my Amity closet cosplay a whole lot, it looks like. I wanted to sit down and properly style it anyway, but these two local guest announcements have kind of kicked me into full gear to really get it going, and of course, because I'm me, I had to record it for the internet. I forgot to take a before photo, so I'm just stealing the photo from the 5 Wits Wigs website where I got the base. This is not a sponsored video, but I am a 5 Wits brand affiliate, so if you use the link that I put in the description, you will get 10% off your order, and that 10% will go to me, so gentle nudge in that brand's direction. But enough self-promotion, let's get styling. Alright, so a plus side about this being a pre-styled wig is that I don't have to shape out bangs myself, but looking at the reference image, there's not enough bang, so I need to take a little bit off of that side to make it look like some is swept out that way. And I'm gonna try to do this with as little heat as possible because I don't feel like hauling like a straightening iron or a hairdryer down here right now. Slot myself into my little corner. The first thing I had to do to this wig was take out the ponytail in the back, which scared me a little because it was put in so nicely, and after brushing it out, I wasn't sure I would be able to get it back into that tight of a ponytail again when I was done. Also, I noticed that the length was uneven to make the ponytail look more even. That really didn't have anything to do with the styling, but it was a neat observation. Then I separated the chunk of hair that I wanted to make the extra part of the bangs out of. To make sure that I didn't accidentally pull any of it back into the ponytail, I used some T-pins that I got with my new styling head. Oh yeah, as you can see, I got a new styling head, to separate them and keep them away from the rest of the hair. Then I pulled the rest back up and brushed it back into its regular position. Next, it was spiking time. I started out with the pre-cut bangs. I spritzed a little bit of hairspray onto the hair directly and pretty much doused my fingers, and then just pulled the strands into the shape I wanted. I also thinned these bangs out because they were really long and a little dense, and they liked to fly in opposite directions and obscure my vision. I once again used pins to hold the shape of the spike so it would dry in that position. The first thing I did to my new set of bangs was tease it so that it would go in the right direction. It was mostly pre-styled to go back into the ponytail, so I just changed the shape by teasing, spraying a little, and then brushing out the top when I was done. I went layer by layer for this because it was just easier than doing all of it in one big clump. Of course, that hairline is still there, but now I've created the illusion of it naturally going to the side more. And once I was happy with it, I could finally chop all of it off. This made me a little bit anxious because I don't like cutting off big things of hair, but I think it turned out the right length. Also, I think I may have pulled it a little too hard while I was trimming it because the angle of my head went wild. From the piece I just cut, I separated an even smaller piece because she has an extra tiny little spike from the rest of that bang that is just a teensy-weensy bit shorter. So I doused that in hairspray and separated it the same way that I did to the bangs, and then did the same thing for the remainder of hair. By the end of this process, my fingers were so sticky and shiny with hairspray, but it was so worth it because I think this looks so clean. This is some of the best spike work I have ever done. While I wait for all of that hairspray to set, which should probably take like an hour maybe, and I'm gonna have to check in on them because I know it's gonna separate, but I'm just gonna cut out the little diamonds that she has in her hair and then I'm going to paint them on both sides. How I'm going to put them in the hair, I'm probably just going to attach them to some pins and then stick them in individually by the ponytail. But we'll see how well that works after I see what size they become. I used black foam because that was just what was on top of my pile and was the right amount of thickness, so I traced out my diamond shapes with a white colored pencil. I made 2 small ones to go on the sides and 1 bigger one to go in the center. I didn't really measure before I cut these out. I just kind of guesstimated with the sizes based on my reference image, and I don't think it's that far off. At least I didn't. Subtle foreshadowing. Then it was paint job time! Each piece of foam was covered with 3 or 4 layers of magenta paint as the base. And then I used a light purplish pink to make the little point of the diamond. I started by doing a line straight down each shape, and then to create the illusion that it was a 3-dimensional shape, I drew the sidelines at a bit of an angle. To attach them to the wig, I put a dab of hot glue on the back side, which I also painted very lightly, and attached a bobby pin to each shape. I've done this technique before with Professor Sonia specifically, I believe, and it worked well, so I figured why not try it with this? So I attached the ponytail clip that came with the wig, and then one by one found the positions for each of the gems. After putting them in though, I did realize that that center gem was way too big, so I took an X-Acto knife and cut off the edges by a lot. And then we were done, and I was Amity! I think this is definitely up there with some of the best wigs I've ever done. So if you want to see more of me styling some wigs, hit the like and subscribe and comment buttons and all that jazz, and I will see you in future videos.